6:45, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danushka Madhavala, read by Soundithavam. The US Deputy Secretary Verma commends Sri Lanka's economic recovery efforts. State Minister hails Sri Lanka's civilizational link with India and calls China important trading partner. The University Grants Commission to be replaced by the National Higher Education Commission. Legal action to be taken against unauthorized granting of national awards. The CBSL says Sri Lanka's inflation to reach 5% during the third and fourth quarters. A suspect arrested with 54,000 foreign cigarettes. India's Calicut airport to have direct air links with Sri Lanka. News overseas, senior UN official appeals for continued support for Ukraine. And in sports, the Royal Thomaian clash for the Senanayaka Shield. Taraka Balasurya, Sri Lanka's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, spoke to WION's diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibel on the sidelines of Raisina Dialogue 2024 in New Delhi. Balasurya weighed in on several issues ranging from India-Lanka relationship, Colombo's ties with China, tourism, unified payments interface, and more. While speaking on China, Balasurya said that both countries are friends, but in India's case it's a civilizational link, as he pointed out the historical connection of cultures. He said that China is an important trading partner, and so are other countries. The water level in the Kalani River has dropped due to the prevailing dry weather conditions. Further, the water resources are also being used for domestic purposes. The water supply and irrigation from the Kalani River have been interrupted due to this. The people residing in the close proximity of the river are requested not to use the river water for extensive external purposes. Foreign Minister Ali Sabri had a meeting with the Uganda national cricket team at the Foreign Affairs Ministry. He said in a message on X that he appreciated the efforts of Speaker Mahindayapa Abeyewardene and Sri Lanka's Ambassador to Uganda V. Kananathan in facilitating this tour, which will further strengthen the Uganda-Sri Lanka relationship. The government has taken measures to establish the National Higher Education Development Commission, replacing the University Grants Commission. The State Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Suren Raghavan, stated yesterday that the relevant bill will be submitted to Parliament by the end of March. He also stated that they expect to debate the bill before the upcoming Sinhala and Tamil New Year. According to the minister, the new commission will be established based on the report compiled by the Parliament Select Committee appointed in this regard. Dr. Raghavan noted that the commission will comprise of 11 members appointed by the President and the Constitutional Council. The President's Secretary, Saman Ekanayake, has directed officials to take legal action against the unauthorized granting of national awards and honorary titles. He said cases where individuals and organizations wrongly present awards similar to those bestowed by the President to deserving Sri Lankans have been observed. Ekanayake underscored the urgency of halting this misuse to prevent grave injustice and disrespect to genuinely honored individuals. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. India's Calicut International Airport may soon have direct air links with Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok and Colombo if the assurance is made at a meeting of people's representatives and airport airline officials held in Karipur are implemented. Malaysia's budget airline Air Asia has interest to operate services from Karipur to Kuala Lumpur and Bangkok, while Sri Lanka's low-cost airline Fitzair has come forward to fly between Colombo and Karipur. The budget airlines of Malaysia and Sri Lanka stepped in to tap the potentials of Karipur, even as many other foreign airlines remain wary of the Calicut International Airport's future, in the wake of the inordinate delay in resuming services of wide-body flights from Karipur. The meeting, chaired by the Airport Advisory Committee Chairman, also made assurances about increasing domestic flight services to Thiruvananthapuram and Delhi and international services to Jeddah. Air Asia and Fitzair have expressed willingness to begin services from Karipur with the hope of ensuring connections to countries like Vietnam, Singapore, Australia, China, the Philippines and Japan. The police special task force has arrested a suspect who was in possession of a large cache of foreign cigarettes illegally brought into the country. The seized cartons contained 54,000 cigarette sticks, the STF said. The arrest was made in Kudagama, Ahaliagoda, during a raid conducted yesterday under the ongoing Yukti operation to crack down on drug syndicates and criminal activities. The 48-year-old suspect and the impounded contraband have been handed over to the Ahaliagoda police for onward investigations. That concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
The US Deputy Secretary of State for Management and Resources, Richard Verma, who called on President Ranil Wickremesinghe on Friday, has expressed appreciation for the efforts taken by the Sri Lankan government to turn the economy around. During the discussion, the Sri Lankan leader outlined the progress of the debt restructuring, along with several key economic reform measures, including the agriculture modernization program. Commenting on matters related to global security, the Deputy Secretary thanked the island nation's government for their assistance in the ongoing naval operations in the Red Sea. President Wickremesinghe stated that Sri Lanka remains committed to freedom of navigation in the Indian Ocean, echoing solidarity with Saudi Arabia's stance on the Houthi rebels. That came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
On to Watchlight. Sri Lanka's inflation is expected to return to the government's 5% target, starting from the last 2 quarters of the year, a Central Bank of Sri Lanka official said recently, as the economy stabilizes from a crippling financial crisis. The economy has shown signs of recovery in recent months, aided by a $2.9 billion International Monetary Fund program, after it went into free fall in 2022 due to a severe foreign exchange shortage. That came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
Making headlines this morning, senior UN official appeals for continued support for Ukraine. Houthis claim attack in Gulf of Aden set UK ship ablaze. Oysters from Noto, seafood from Fukushima on menu at the Shibuya Festival. A senior UN official in charge of overseeing humanitarian aid in Ukraine has appealed for continued support from the international community as the second anniversary of the start of Russia's invasion nears. Dennis Brown, the United Nations resident coordinator in Ukraine, spoke in an exclusive interview with NHK in the capital Kyiv on Wednesday. She noted that the conflict between Israel and Hamas and other global crises have reduced the international community's interest in the situation in Ukraine. The Houthi militant group has struck a UK-owned cargo ship in the Gulf of Aden, while the group's leader has threatened to escalate attacks on shipping. A spokesperson for the Yemen-based Houthis said on Thursday that a missile attack caused a fire on the British-owned vessel. The US Central Command said 2 missiles were fired at the cargo carrier and 1 person suffered minor injuries. Hungry diners are feasting on seafood at a festival in Tokyo's central Shibuya district. A highlight of the event is marine produce from around Japan, including oysters from Quakit Noto Peninsula. The Sakana and Japan Festival 2024 kicked off at Yoyogi Park on Thursday. Vendors from across the country have opened around 80 booths with menus offering shellfish, tuna and crab. That concludes World News, and we move on to development news. Tourism in Sri Lanka is on a high growth trajectory, following a boost in Sri Lanka's potential as a must-visit destination. Visa-free travel for tourists from China, India, Indonesia, Russia, Thailand, Malaysia and Japan has provided the right nudge for tourists to put Sri Lanka on the top of their travel bucket list. The electronic travel authorization scheme is valid until March 2024, while the visa is valid for 30 days, permitting double entry from the date of initial arrival to Sri Lanka. Industry sources believe that the boost in tourist arrivals may encourage the visa-free travel scheme to be further extended. That's development news.
Moving on with sports news.
The second uninterrupted cricket series in the world, the Battle of the Blues, between Royal College Colombo and St. Thomas's College Mount Lavinia, will hold its 145th edition on March 7th, 8th and 9th at the SSC grounds in Colombo. The teams will vie for the prestigious D.S. Senanayake Memorial Shield. The limited overs encounter for the Mustangs Trophy will also take place at the same venue on March 16th. This was revealed at a press conference held at the BMICH recently. The current tally between the two schools has Royal leading with 36 wins and St. Thomas's with 35 victories. Royal College emerged victorious with a comprehensive 181 run over the Thomians last year after a lapse of 7 years under the captaincy of Dasis Manchanayake. St. Thomas's College, led by Sitara Hapuhinna, recorded their last victory in 2019 with a 7-wicket win over the Royalists. That came to you in sports news. Business news up next.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business news, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The Indian media said Sri Lanka expects to sign the long-awaited economic and technological cooperation agreement with India to boost bilateral trade by the 2024-2025 financial year. Citing sources familiar with the matter, the Indian news agency Mint said that India and Sri Lanka are on the verge of signing the ETCA that is expected to boost bilateral trade between the two neighbouring countries. The agreement is expected to be concluded in the financial year 2025, marking a milestone in their economic relationship. That's business news.
Business news, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news, the Sri Lanka-Pakistan Business Council of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, in collaboration with the Pakistan High Commission in Sri Lanka, led a 10-member business delegation to the 3rd Expo Engineering and Healthcare Show in Lahore recently. Spearheaded by the president of the SLBC, Indra Kushal Rajapaksa, the delegation joined over 600 delegates from 70 countries at the exposition organized by the Trade Development Authority of Pakistan and the Ministry of Commerce and Export Development Fund of Pakistan, showcasing sectors such as agriculture, automotive, pharmaceuticals and many more. That's economic news.
Weather report.
The Met Department says that showers or thundershows will occur at several places in the western, southern, Sabaragamuwa, central, northwestern and Uva provinces in the evening or night. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and Uva provinces, also in the Gaul and Martara districts. And with that, we're going to conclude the news, but before that, let's take a look at the headlines once again. The US Deputy Secretary Verma commends Sri Lanka's economic recovery efforts. The State Minister hails Sri Lanka's civilizational link with India and calls China an important trading partner. The University Grants Commission to be replaced by the National Higher Education Commission. Legal action to be taken against unauthorized granting of national awards. The CBSL says Sri Lanka's inflation to reach 5% during the 3rd and 4th quarters. A suspect arrested with 54,000 foreign cigarettes. India's Calicut airport to have direct air links with Sri Lanka. A senior UN official appeals for continued support for Ukraine. And the Royal Thomian clash for the Senanayaka Shield. With that, we conclude this morning's news broadcast, and now it's back to Abhishek to keep you entertained. Good morning, Abhishek, and it's all yours.
Good morning, Sandy, and thank you. And the time moves down to, we're 1 minute short of turning 7. And yes, you're listening to Radio Sri Lanka 97.4 and 97.6 FM. And we're going to move on to more music to keep things more delightful and tasteful on this Saturday, this lovely Saturday morning. And yes, this is the Foundations with the nostalgic Build Me Up Buttercup. Enjoy.